Welcome! In this series of videos, we will look at software add-ons for both the PowerBasic console and Windows compilers. Today, we will look at creating an active chart in PowerBasic for Windows with the free RMchart add-on from Rainer Morgen. The RMchart application can be a very useful tool to create custom charts. What we're going to do today is to use the RMchart designer to create a chart which we can use within an application to dynamically update the chart. So let's start by creating a chart. In this chart, we're going to make it a little bigger than the last ones. We'll adjust the size of the chart, and we're going to make this one standard flat with shadow. We're going to change our default color, and we're going to basically have two regions on this chart, one for a line graph and one for a pie chart. How you can do this is by ticking both region 1 and region 2. Region 1's chart defaults to be the full size of the canvas. What we're going to do here is we're going to limit it to only 800 pixels wide, and our second region will start at 810. And our first chart type is going to be a line chart, and the second chart is going to be a pie chart. So if we go into region 1 and organise that one first, we'll put a caption up on this one. We'll increase the font size slightly, and we're going to put a footnote on this one. We'll put a gradient on this one. And at the moment we'll leave our minimum and maximum as being 1, 0 to 100. We will scroll down, and we're going to change the tick count to 24, and we're going to put labels in for, basically these are the hours. These are going to be from midnight up until 2300. And we'll put access text in for that one. Saying it's the hour of the day. So that's our first chart actually sorted. Now we don't have any data in that chart yet, so let's just add a series to that chart. And it's going to be a line chart, this one. And we'll put our first value in as 34. Now we're going to change the line style from line to spline, which gives a slightly more organic look. And we'll change the colour to red, and we will put bullet points on to mark each data point. That'll do us for the moment. Well, we'll put the labels on as well. Right, that's the basic first chart done. We now want to go into region 2 to organise our pie chart. Now we'll give this one a caption. And we'll increase the font size for that one as well. We'll put the legend at the bottom of the pie chart. And we'll put in 3 values. Now we'll change its back colour to being the back colour of the page. So we'll go in and we'll edit that series. We'll put 3 data points in. And we want these to add up to the 34 value we've got here. So let's try 15, 10 and 9, which would give us the 34. Now we'll try a 3D pie chart with a gradient in it, which gives us quite a nice pie chart. We'll mark it as colour transparent, and we will put the absolute and percentage labels on. We'll leave the default colours, and there we have our 2 regions on the chart. So this is the basis of what our program is going to look like. All we have to do now to generate that is we can save the current chart in case we ever need to make changes to it again. And we'll call this active chart. Now to generate our code, we merely have to go up to the File menu, click on the Get Source option, we'll pick the complete ready-to-go source, and we'll hit the OK button. Now having done that, we can come out of RMChart Designer, and we can go into our code and basically overwrite to give us our source code. Now I've placed the RMchart include file in the same folder as this application, therefore it should be good to go. And we'll save this as active chart. So if we run that application now, we get back an application which gives us exactly what we saw in the RMchart Designer. The first column sitting at 34 and the pie chart reflecting the 34 in 3 slices of the pie. So how can we make this dynamic? First thing to do is we're going to be needing some random numbers to generate the values for our chart. So we're going to use the randomize function. As a seed for the random number generator. When the dialog is created, it runs the doTheChart function at the end before the dialog is shown, and the doTheChart function effectively draws the chart on the screen. Now there are 2 arrays which we'll want to use, one for the first region and one for the second region. Now we'll want to create these as globals. So we'll go up to the top of our code and we'll go in and declare them as globals. We're putting them as globals so that we can effectively redimension them and populate them as needs. There we go, we now have 2 double arrays which will be used for our 2 data sets. In the callback function, which is the event handler for a dialog, we can set up a timer to trigger every second to update our chart. So in order to do that, we will need a couple of new variables. Now I'm creating these as static variables so that each time the event handler is actually called, the variables will retain their value. We're going to use the long hour count to keep track of which hour the data refers to, and our timer is going to be used to trigger every second. So when the dialog initially loads, we will want to set up our timer. So we're going to be using a Windows API function called setTimer. And this will take a number of parameters, first being the handle of the dialog, the second being the timer number, this is our first timer so its value is 1, and the interval that will trigger, in this case 1000 milliseconds, which is a second. So this timer will trigger every second. We can then create an event to handle what happens at each second. What we're going to do here, the variable we set up earlier, long hour count, will initially when the form loads be 0. So the first thing we'll do, we'll increment that. So its initial value then will go up to 1. So if the value is less than 24, we're going to call a new function, which we haven't created yet, which is going to effectively redraw data on the chart. Otherwise, if the long hour count value reaches 24, then we are finished drawing the chart and we can kill off the timer. And we pass to that the value we picked up when we set the timer. Now we want to redraw the chart. There are 2 values we'll pass into it. One being the dialog handle and the other being the hour number. So we'll come back to this routine in a moment. If we have a look first at the do the chart function. Now this is the one the application has prepped entirely for you. So we have a look down here. We will see that initially all the values are set up. Now we'll change this initial value to actually have some data in it. Basically slotting in the date and time. The date function inbuilt to PowerBasic will of course return the US format of the date. If you want a different format, for example a UK format, you can substitute a function to return that for the date $, that's in here at the moment. All the references in here to the RMChart libraries pass it the RMChart handle of the object. Now we'll be using that later on ourselves. Now if we look down at the rest of the code, we'll see where the legend is actually set for the first chart. We'll see where the data is actually set, and we'll see where the data for the second one is actually set. Now the code as it stands at the moment is using the same array for both charts. Now we're going to change that. We're going to basically make that data 2 so that the two charts will be quite independent and they won't get in each other's way. Because what we're going to be doing in our new function is we're going to populate, or we're going to repopulate the data within these arrays. So that's the only change we should have to make to this piece of code. If we pop to the bottom of our application, we can now create our new function. Redraw the chart. Now we're passing in two variables, one being the dialog handle and the other being the hour number. So we're going to need some local variables in here. We're going to need a variable for the slice of the pie chart we're actually going to be amending. We're going to need a value for the increment, which is the amount of change we're going to be making to each of the charts. And we'll handle the region 1 data first. So the first thing to do is to get a value for our increment. How much we want the value to actually change between 1 hour and the next. And we can use the random function for that one. So we're going between -5 and 5. So we'll return a number between -5 and +5. Now the array that's used to hold the data for the first chart is AData. Now we know the hour we wish to amend has been passed in as one of the parameters. So we're going to put a value in there. Now the value in this particular element array will be 0 at the moment. So we know that the previous hour would have been populated. Initially this would be 0. So we're going to make it equal to the last value plus the increment. Now, having repopulated that array value, we want to instruct RMChart to redisplay that section of the chart. Now, there are a number of functions inbuilt to the RMChart library to do this. RMC set series data is the one we want to use in this case. Now, it will take a number of parameters, the first being the handle of the RMChart itself, which is RMC1. We're changing region 1, series 1. And we need to pass in the array we wish to handle and the upper bounding of the array, how many elements it's actually got in it. As the array starts at 0, we want to make it the top value, the top array bounding, +1. Now, having done that, we need to actually tell the RMChart library to redisplay the chart. There's a simple RMC draw function for that, and all you need to do is to give it the handle of the RMChart. Now, having done that, if we try a compile to make sure we haven't missed anything, which we have. We don't need an element in there. And we need a then. And it's killed timer. And if we just have a quick look through the do the chart function to see what it's doing, we have two arrays, a data used for the line chart and a data 2 which is used for the pie chart. Now this is the only bit of information we had to change within this section of the code. That's the legend for the line chart, and here is the population of the data for initially the line chart, the first column being 34. And we have to make sure all these are a data, which they are. And the second one, there's the legend for our pie chart. And the data for our chart, we've missed a 2 out of there. Now the other thing we can do is we can change our line chart to have a dynamic set of axes. It's originally set for the minimum value of 0 and the maximum of 100. If we make both of those 0 and we run our chart now, then it will dynamically redraw the vertical axis. And as we can see, each second is triggering, generating a new value for the line chart and drawing it on the screen with no flickering and no jumping. Very clean. So as well as this, we can effectively change the pie chart to be dynamically driven at the same time. So if we have a look at our redraw the chart function, there are 2 additional pieces we want to put in. Let's create a new local variable. As an ASCII. And we're going to set that to the current date and time. And there's another function inside the RMChart library to allow you to set the region footer. And again, we need to pass it some parameters to tell it which chart we're dealing with and which region. And that should change the time and date at the bottom of the first chart. Now we want to handle the second chart. Now this uses the data2 array. First we need to work out which slice we want to amend. So this will be a value between 0 and 2, as these are the elements of the array. And whichever one that is, we will effectively do exactly the same as we did before. We will populate that with the current value of the slice plus the increment we have previously calculated. And again, just as we did for the previous series, we will put in the set series data. In this case, this is region 2 of amending, and the array we're passing it is array data 2. Now if we run this now, missed a comma, we run this now, we will see that not only is the line chart being updated, but our pie chart is dynamically being updated, and at the same time our time is advancing 1 second. So using this approach, you can have a chart which dynamically updates at any frequency you wish. The RMChart libraries can be downloaded from the GSF software website. I'll put a link in the description below. But that's it for today. Thank you for watching.